I can have everybody's attention just one more time briefly so that we can get the program started. We have a great couple of speakers today and a wonderful program, and I know everyone is eager to hear from them. And so I'm going to ask the program committee and Carol and Claire to come up and introduce our speakers, and we'll get the program underway. And please continue enjoying your lunch.
So Claire and I both come from the world of infrastructure, and we joined LAI a couple of years ago. We were intent on bringing that perspective to the group, and so I think today's program is really, kind of represents that. We've got two gentlemen here who are leaders in our area in terms of heavy infrastructure. It's good clean water and roads that are the precursor to any kind of development, any kind of economic development in the city, and they're here to talk to us about that. Our first speaker today will be John Yonan. He was appointed the superintendent of the Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways in January of 2012 by Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle. He's responsible for all of the county's road department professional engineering functions, including programming, design, construction, maintenance. His responsibilities include over 130 bridge structures, 570 miles of roads, 350 traffic signals, and 4 maintenance districts. Recent notable projects include the reconstruction of Crawford Avenue from Devon to Oakton, the reconstruction of Center Street from 159th to 171st Street. He earned his bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Southern Illinois and is a licensed professional engineer in the state of Illinois.
And our second speaker is Commissioner Randy Connor. And the interesting thing is these two gentlemen work together in their careers at CDOT. So, and they're both doing different things, but still maintaining public service, so thank you for that. In 2017, Randy Connor was appointed by Mayor Rahm Emanuel and confirmed by City Council as Commissioner of the Department of Water Management for the City of Chicago. Commissioner Connor has more than 20 years of significant experience with city engineering and infrastructure. Most recently, he served as First Deputy at the Chicago Department of Transportation and the Chicago Department of Streets and Sanitation. As the Department of Water Management Commissioner, Connor oversees more than 2,000 employees, more than 100 vendors, consulting firms, and contractors, an operating budget of approximately $1 billion, and a capital budget of approximately $750 million annually. Commissioner Connor continues overseeing Mayor Emanuel's 10-year Building a New Chicago program. To date, this program has replaced 470 miles of water main and rehabilitated 373 miles of sewer main. Commissioner Connor attended Purdue University, where he studied engineering and construction principles and is certified in Emergency Action Plan by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Thank you, gentlemen.
Can everybody hear in the back?
All right, thank you, Carol, for inviting me to this opportunity. And kind of in the bio there, you hear that spent 19 years at the City of Chicago. And in the City of Chicago, we're responsible for all the roads in the city itself. And so 5.5 years ago, I go over to the county, and this is kind of a grid, the slide on the left, of what Cook County's jurisdictional responsibility are. There's 135 roughly municipalities in the county, including the City of Chicago. And as you can see, you see a road network that there is no connection between north and south, east and west of the City of Chicago. So when we were called the Highway Department for almost 100 years, what's happened in the transportation industry is that we've all now focused so much on fixing what's broken in our road network system. Yes, engineers are listening to some planners, but truly with the incredible amount of need that's out there, it's really difficult to get planning correct. And so for years at the city, it was just fix what's broken, fix what's broken. But Madam President wanted to do something uniquely different at Cook County. What she wanted to do is look at the entire transportation network, and the slide on the right shows all modes of transportation, and really tasked me with going out, listening to what the needs are in the communities, talk to all the transportation implementers to figure out a way that we could somehow, as a county unit of government that overlaps, again, with other counties in the region, the municipalities in the region, and come up with a comprehensive transportation plan. And the one thing that over and over again I use as a slide of what that previous slide showed, which was our county jurisdiction roads. What wasn't acceptable is the road on the left, which is my road that has come to the end of what I qualify as the end of its useful life, was scheduled for reconstruction. The road on the right is a local municipal road that tees right where my road, my photograph of the county road is taken. And this is an area that's serving Canadian National Intermodal Yard, and left to this local municipality, that roadway on the right was years down the road possibly going to get funded. How in our right mind, in our transportation world, can we sit and say, not my road, not my problem, let me take care of what is broken, without again taking a step back and saying, we're only going to make a fool of ourselves in a world that's already distrusting of government. So Madam President said we've got to, first and foremost, listen to folks, but then we also got to come up with a plan that's going to now be a script that we can go back and be able to tell folks that what we want to do with the plan is not have something that first off sits and becomes this when we get money, where new policies are set, that becomes an active plan, but something that really sets not projects but policies as our priorities. And so it took about 3.5 years of pulling some things together, looking at conditions of assets, and we came up with these policy priorities that you see up here. 5 policy priorities that now are no longer all about rebuilding an infrastructure that we all know is come to the end of its useful life, but really with taking a step back, wanting to work with some folks in the room, and it was great to be able to kind of put the faces with some of the names. I know I've met a few of you over the years here with the various projects we've worked in municipalities. And so now that our long-range transportation plan is complete, looking at these 5 policy priorities, and again, just for time's sake, we're just going to kind of go through some of these a little bit quicker here. But first and foremost, and this is a great story of just the opportunities I've had to work with Carol, is that Madam President really believes that transit is the solution to the challenges that we have with congestion in the area. And so again, as a highway department that we used to be, we've got to look at ways that we really try to promote transit. And you think about it, transit in many cases, the buses, some of the potential privatized transit is going to be running on a road network that government owns. And in the end, why are we pushing transit to be more efficient when the road builders of this industry are really the ones that hold the key? And so there really is an opportunity to make this our policy priority. And so when you look at, again, the ways you could kind of look on the road network as to how to be able to optimize things like signals, we could look at some of the various needs that, in many cases, that last mile connection to transit where a simple sidewalk makes a world of difference. Connecting to where some of these transit stations or bus stops are, once again, are in government's right of way, and so we need to look at all of those as a way to try to promote transit. A couple examples, and again, I'll go a little quickly here. You know, Madam President, she always tells the story that when it came to understanding what the county's assets were, she was just dropped a big volume of here's what you own. And one of the things that we knew we owned was a parking lot at the Blue Line in Rosemont. What we didn't know is we didn't have any kind of agreements in place, and Carol and I have got to know each other the last few years a little bit better, because not only is this piece of property, and for those of you here, the challenge that here is a piece of property that the county owns in the village of Rosemont. But it's just a flat lot and an area that could be so developed that Cook County did not know the potential of what we could do with this property. But first and foremost, what we've got to do is work closely with the municipality to help develop this piece of property. And that part of this is where, again, we've never been in that position in the past, but we're very excited about, again, promoting transit, because Madam President said first and foremost, this particular location is at the crossroad of Main and Main when it comes to the potential of what development could happen out there, along with being able to support, in this case, PACE, the Blue Line, and potential for what Rosemont might be doing to help the O'Hare corridor. So that particular project is something that will be coming out with some type of RFP, RFQ, to be able to see how to possibly develop that land. And then on the right, Cook County played a role because a couple of the bridges that were over county jurisdiction roads on the 606 there. So these were a couple of examples that we wanted to highlight as to what transit looks like in ways that we want to try to support it. But another one, the multimodal aspect of it is a lot of times, and I know Kindy's here, you know, the Forest Preserve, it's getting to the great Forest Preserve trails. Left to, again, the municipal boundaries, how do you make long connecting trails when each municipality will be competing for one another for the various grants? We think, again, the unit of government that the county and its adjacent county could work closely together to be able to promote this type of connectivity through the various villages to, whether it's the forest preserves or other trails. And so we've been moving forward and been successful on a couple grants through the Skokie Valley Trail here. Freight, another big deal for us as the second, priority in our long-range transportation plan. When you look at, again, this region being the freight capital of North America, we've got to find ways to promote this. And in many cases, again, the understanding of freight looks very different and defined from the various folks in the room here. But a couple of ways that we see this as examples is that there are projects that, once again, depending on jurisdictional responsibility, don't really elevate to a priority. So here you've got, a project that is the Toohey Avenue, which is an off-system improvement of the Elgin O'Hare Expressway. And so Madam President has built a really close working relationship with Chairman Cronin in DuPage County. But this is an IDOT road. Very low on the condition to get rebuilt, but part of the Elgin O'Hare, which is going to connect to Jane Addams with the western entrance. And this particular project was part of the 10% funding gap that the tollway and their commitment to Elgin O'Hare needed some local participation. It's on the border of the city. You've got Des Plaines unincorporated. IDOT wasn't really necessarily, again, going to be funding this, so the county, because again, in collaboration with the Des Plaines Industrial Corridor, felt this would be a project that we would prioritize and have received over $40 million for construction with some grants that are up and coming. And so this to us is, again, the way we were wanting to support the freight industry by looking at access to some of these expressways and doing, in this case, a grade separation. So that's a project that will be under construction in 2019. Some of you may have heard, again, Cook County, as Madam President, the city negotiated the CREATE deal, was very much wanting Cook County to be part of the CREATE partners. And just this year, and I know Jeff's here, they're dusting off all of the documents to now include Cook County as a partner in the CREATE program. And in particular, the project that we're all really rallying behind is the 75th Street Corridor Improvement Program. And as a CREATE partner now, again, advocating to find ways that we can promote these type of CREATE projects to get funded. So that project is something we'll be submitting an infra application for. One of the things over and over again, and I know it, you look at the county and you hear Madam President talk about how the various municipalities that are struggling aren't going to be able to figure out how to, in that picture that you saw earlier, rebuild the roads, bring some of the various vacant parcels to build the infrastructure around them. And so equal access, especially in South Cook, has just been disinvested, and there really isn't going to be opportunities for them to be able to rebuild those roads in those various areas. Earlier when we talked about what more than anything is transportation about, Madam President realizes it's about economic and community development. That's the way we've got to sell transportation. And so if we're going to do that, especially in Southern Cook, we know it's a challenge to be able to have those suburbs access jobs by transit. And so we need to be able to make investments so that the jobs come to the southern suburbs, so that job access isn't the challenge where those transit deserts are. And so what we found is, in many instances, opportunities for us to take those local road projects and be able to, in this particular case, Sterling Lumber, a Blue Island company that was looking to expand, family-owned business that wanted a piece of property that was going to require major infrastructure improvements. The county jumped in. We helped finance, engineer, design this particular roadway, which is right down the street from the village of Phoenix. And in this case, Sterling Lumber had closed a deal, hired 65 people from the community and just the business has been thriving. And so opportunities for equal access is something that we know, again, is about promoting economic and community development, and we'll make that commitment over and over again. Next picture shows another project just about a half-mile from there, where LB Steel, who's recently purchased some other vacant parcels. This is in the village of Harvey. Because of, again, us coming in, rebuilding the road, that condition that you saw on the right, which again is happening throughout the state. We're going back to dirt roads, folks. But the trucks obviously navigating that. This particular company moves a lot of large volumes of steel, and the road you can see was led by Cook County, just about to be completed here in the next few weeks. So as big a deal as equal access is, and I'm going to go a little bit fast here just because of time, we know that opportunities for the transportation industries to collaborate. There was a little article that came out where the tollway had actually looked to do some expansion opportunities, and the general public thinks, hey, full interchange opportunities, the tollway's getting money, they should be funding these full interchanges. And I know Julie's here from Schaumburg, and we work closely on this Central Avenue project where the village of Schaumburg was able to keep a company that was in Chicago, in Cook County, in the Sunstar development, and Schaumburg did a fabulous job because why? Central Road commitment to build a full interchange kept that company that's expanded at great corporate headquarters there in Schaumburg, because the opportunities that a local agency has to pay for the full interchanges, and Madam President understood the value of that. So when it comes to modernizing this new theme that over and over again Madam President said as Cook County is, we need to listen to planners. We have to get beyond, again, the needs are great to rebuild what's out there, but no question, we don't want to miss opportunities like this, where the tollway isn't going to rebuild the Jane Addams for another 80 years, and this full interchange would have been an afterthought, like it was 60 years, or 50 years ago when they built it without the interchange. So that particular project is, again, a little success story, just quickly here. One of the things is just talking to Carol is we definitely on the modernized, want to be able to promote the transit, the bus on shoulder. On the Jane Addams, we're really excited about how the Jane Addams is terminating at the Rosemont Blue Line station. And so the bus on shoulder that's on the Kennedy, on the Jane Addams, is a model that the tollway on 294 is also going to try to promote, which once again, the northern end of it will terminate at the Rosemont Blue Line station, is ways that transportation, understanding transit, will look to maintain and modernize. Finally, investments, we know, and Madam President has said this, we've got to grow the revenue pie, and stands ready to be able to support whatever revenue stream increases we need for the area. The needs are great, and we're going to stand by that. And one of the things in this last bullet that I wanted to point out, because I know a number of folks in this room, it's one thing to talk about transportation investments, it's one thing to say we need more money, but you got to put a little bit of skin in the game. And so last January, we came out with a grant program where the municipalities, it had to be a unit of government, would submit applications, and we were committed to paying $8.5 million of projects that the community saw the value in. And over 106 applications to the tune of about $40 million was submitted. 30 projects moved and advanced. Roughly about $7.6 million, leveraging another $7.2 that would have been sitting on the sidelines to do things like look at how Uber could serve Bedford Park. The mayor is very excited about all the modes of transportation, but can't get on his industrial corridor in an efficient way. That's one of the projects that's listed there. Bus pads, something as simple as bus pads, making an entire road corridor accessible to transit was what 3 municipalities wanted to do. So it's very exciting things that are happening at Cook County. And I just thank you that I got a chance to be able to present this, and we'll be ready for questions afterwards. Thank you.
So good afternoon. Again, my name is Randy Connor, and I'm the Commissioner of Chicago Department of Water Management, and I'd like to thank Claire Williams for this invite. All overview of Department of Water Management. Just to kind of put it in perspective, all water in and above the earth, that's the sphere that's right there, is 160 miles in diameter. We're talking about all fresh water. Fresh liquid water in the ground, lakes, swamps, and rivers. It's the sphere that's over Kentucky, which is about 169.5 miles in diameter. The fresh water, lakes and rivers, the sphere over Georgia, 34.9 miles in diameter. Just to kind of put it in perspective. Lake Michigan. So only 2.5% of the Earth's water is fresh water. That's the amount needed for life to survive. Lake Michigan is the world's 5th largest freshwater lake, and Lake Michigan supplies water for neighborhoods, business, recreation, and aquatic habitats. Because of the levels of Lake Michigan fluctuate so much, we're actually in the process of trying to figure out how to conserve more water. Even though it's one of the largest freshwater sources, there's still an issue with water conservation. The Chicago water system itself, what we do, we have the drinking water treatment, the water distribution system and maintenance, combined sewer system maintenance, and we transmit the wastewater to the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago, who treats that water. And I'm going to kind of go through this quickly so that in the essence of time. The Chicago water system itself consists of 2 crib structures, which are the intakes, and we have the 2 largest water plants in the world. We have 12 pumping stations, 9 electric and 3 steam powered. There's no elevated storage, it's all pump on demand. And it totals about, all the pipes are pressurized at about 20 pounds per square inch. We have 4,300 miles of water mains, 48,000 fire hydrants, and 490,000 water accounts. The drinking water treatment overview. We have a conventional treatment process, which includes the addition of chlorine at 2 different points for disinfection, fluoride to help fight tooth decay, and coagulants to settle out impurities in the water. And we also do a blended phosphate to coat pipes and service lines as water goes into the houses. We also have on-site laboratory tests. We do on-site laboratory tests from about 40 different points in the city of Chicago to ensure that the water is always clean, and it's tested every hour on the hour. Just to kind of go back, I'm sorry, and the total system capacity between the 2 plants is about 2 billion gallons a day, and that's what we could process on a daily basis in our capacity. And the Jardine plant, it's about 1.5 billion gallons, and the Sawyer plant, it's about 3/4 billion gallons. Our customers actually include the city of Chicago, 125 suburbs, and the total population serves more than 5.3 million customers. And we're actually in the process of extending that, so by the year 2021, we should be up to about 8.9 million customers, which right now is 42% of the population of Illinois. The sewer system overflow. Currently, we have combined sewer system, which transmits waste and stormwater to the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, and there's 230 square miles of drainage area in the city of Chicago, which is 4,400 miles of sewers, which range from the size of 8-inch to 21.5 feet in diameter, 250,000 catch basins, and 200 combined sewer overflows. Why do we replace aging infrastructure? For the city of Chicago, failure is not an option because of how many people that we supply with clean water. One reason, end of useful life. We discovered that a lot of the infrastructure in the city of Chicago is over 100 years old, and that's how we've based how we are rebuilding the infrastructure in the city. The competitive construction costs. Since 2007, the economy has actually been pretty ripe for us to go out and be able to do the work that we're doing. We're able to be able to acquire the loans that we need, as well as get the low interest rates because of the low water rates that we have. Right now, the city of Chicago charges $3.81 per 1,000 gallons, and it's about the 3rd lowest in the city. Right now, if I'm not mistaken, it's Milwaukee, but their sewer tax, it comes out to be about $12 per 1,000 gallons. Major rainfall events. One of the reasons that we're actually, that Mayor Emanuel, sorry, but he's actually in the slide here. The Mayor Emanuel actually wants to, is being very strong about replacing the infrastructure, is the more frequent rainfalls that we're getting, the 10-year rains, the 25-year rains, and the 100-year rains. If anybody is familiar with Eugene Field, That's right off of Foster and Pulaski, right where we're actually doing the new deep tunnel project. That's one of the lowest parts of the city, right by the Chicago River, where every time it rains, if we anywhere from 4 inches of rain, that entire area floods. America's Infrastructure Report Card. So what we discovered is that the America's Infrastructure, if you grade it, it's a D+. And for us to be able to rehabilitate all of the infrastructure in the country, it would take about $3.6 trillion. We're right now, it's $655 billion is needed for water and sewer infrastructure over the next 20 years, per the US EPA. And without these improvements, we are at risk of catastrophic failures. And if you've seen things that have gone on in the past 10 years, we've had a lot of sewer collapses, major sewer collapses, where these were, pipes that were roughly 10 feet wide, diameter and greater. And as of 2016, 22% of indoor water usage declined since 1999. And what we've discovered is that it's not necessarily us replacing the pipes and becoming more efficient. It's a collaboration between us and the industry, and with low-flow toilets, with more water-efficient appliances. And with that, we have our 10-year capital improvement program. The actual goals for that is to replace 880 miles of water main. We have approximately 700 miles of sewer and line 95,000 structures. Design 4 pumping station conversions, which we converted to stations from steam power to electric, and one with solar power. Convert 3 pumping stations and install 200,000 water meters. And to be able to do that, we have to have the support from the mayor, the aldermen, the unions, employees, and our customers. And also along with that, you have to have money. So we had a rate increase, which passed the city council with a 50-0 vote in support of a 4-year rate increase between 2012 and 2015. The first year was 25% and then 15% each year after that. There's an ordinance in place now that talks about any time that the cost of living goes up, that there's an actual increase, that we do not have to go back to council to increase the water prices. We also have to have the cooperation of a lot of people with the unions, other departments, because we collaborate with a lot of people and other agencies. To be able to do all of that and gain the efficiencies, we also have our facility improvements. One is the Springfield Avenue pumping station, which was conversion from steam to electric power. It was and these are just a few pictures that actually show some of the conversions that we did. And those are the solar panels on top that have helped tremendously. And it was for a cost of $70 million, and it was including a 29.